What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitzmonk TV here, aka G-Lon33. I want to welcome you guys back here to the Legit Shoot podcast. Tonight, I am here with your AEW Dynamite January 5th, 2022 review. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying healthy, and doing well. Hope you guys had a good day, and I hope you guys are doing your best to protect yourselves from all the viruses and variants that are going crazy outside these days, man. You know, based on what the science is saying, you know, in about a week or so, this rapid thing should calm down a little bit. So just try to stay safe for a little bit longer, you know, and do your best, and hopefully things will at least die down a little bit. Right, I know everyone's trying to get themselves tested, and people have been traveling for New Year's and Christmas, right? So just do what you guys got to do to, you know, protect yourselves and all of that good stuff. This is our first AEW review of the year, and like I said on last week's Dynamite review, I'm going to try to be more consistent with these. You know, I'm not going to promise that you guys are going to get an AEW review every single week, but I will do my very best, right? I'm basically just saying the same thing I said for the Monday Night Raw reviews. You know, my goal is, you know, for most weeks, have a Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown review, so at least give you guys at least 3 podcasts every single week, and then on weeks where we have pay-per-views, of course, have that for you guys as well. You know, some weeks I may only give you a Dynamite and a SmackDown review. Some weeks it might just be a Raw and SmackDown review. Some weeks you might not get anything, you know, but I'm going to do my best to be as consistent as possible. And I have some free time in my schedule the last couple of weeks, so it's been a little bit easier. But I'm just letting you guys know, you know, I'm going to do my best to get you guys to these reviews every single week, but you may not get it every single week. All right. So hopefully you guys understand on that front, right? Before we get into Dynamite tonight, of course, this was AEW's first show on TBS, their new permanent home. They're still going to be doing special events, I guess, on TNT every once in a while, but for at least on Dynamite on TBS will be its permanent home. We know that TBS paid a lot to get Dynamite on TBS, and that's what you guys can expect going forward. But you know, there's a good amount to talk about when it comes to AEW. The show itself tonight was pretty good. It was a good show, you know, nothing too crazy. You had a fantastic world title match between Bryan Danielson and Adam Hangman Paige. You know, CM Punk and MJF, their feud is still continuing, right? We did crown a new AEW TBS champion, the first TBS champion, right? And we have new AEW Tag Team Champions. We don't know if it was planned or not, because before I say anything about that, I do want to say, give my condolences and my prayers out to Rey Fenix, one half of the Lucha Bros. If you guys didn't know, during that match, and I didn't even notice this the first time watching that main event tonight, but if you guys look at the spot, the chokeslam spots with Luchasaurus and Rey Fenix broke his arm, or he injured his arm at the most part. It's probably going to come back as a broken arm. Some are hoping that, you know, that for some better news, that maybe it's just an arm dislocation, but definitely he shattered something in there. If you look at that chokeslam spot, you know, when Luchasaurus puts him through the table, his arm was in the wrong position, and that's even though it's off the apron, it's not as big as, you know, off the top rope or off a ladder. It's still just the momentum and the sheer force that your arm is hitting when you hit that concrete floor. Not even talking about going through the table itself, but his arm doesn't hit the table, it hits the concrete floor, and then his arm was just bent, and it just bent all the way back when it hit the floor at a huge impact. You could tell right away he called over for officials. You know, he knew that, you know, he had shattered something in there right away. Unfortunate, right? And I'm not sure if that's why they had Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus win the match, you know, because it was very surprising to see them win the match, but I don't think anybody's gonna complain that they're the tag champions, you know. But still, still unfortunate, and we're gonna wish him a speedy recovery. Definitely, he's gonna probably be out a while. Probably he'll get surgery on that right away to repair whatever he shattered, and definitely the Lucha Bros will be fighting to get those tag championships back as soon as he returns. But those were really the four big things coming out of AEW Dynamite tonight. We'll go over the full show in just a second, but I do want to just talk a little bit about WWE. There's a couple of big things coming out of WWE today. First thing I want to mention is give you guys an update on Sasha Banks, the best female wrestler in the world. If you guys remember, I told you guys on Monday, remember Sasha did get injured at a live event this week. She was not the only person to get injured at a live event. Remember, Drew McIntyre got in. Drew McIntyre had been dealing with a neck injury, and WWE wrote him off television at day one. They're hoping that McIntyre takes the next couple weeks to rest, and hopefully, his neck injury isn't going to require surgery or anything like that, because. Or was it? It was either a neck injury or a back injury, but I think it was the neck. But they're hoping he doesn't need surgery because, of course, they're gonna need McIntyre. SmackDown's, just lost its number one babyface with McIntyre being out, and they want McIntyre back because they're gonna need him for WrestleMania season, right? And I think the plan was for McIntyre and it was for McIntyre and Roman to go to the Rumble. I guess the plan was never to be WrestleMania, but they were actually planning to do that match at the Rumble. But yeah, they're going to need McIntyre for WrestleMania season, but it looks like the plan was never for Drew versus Roman at WrestleMania. They're planning to do it at the Rumble. It seems, based on what I'm hearing, right, WWE still wants to do Brock and Roman at WrestleMania, which is not a surprise, but potentially it may not be for both titles. So I'm hearing rumors right now that potentially WWE could do something where Roman costs Brock Lesnar the WWE Championship at the Rumble, right? Because right now we have no idea who's going to face Roman at the Rumble. The plans were actually supposed to be Roman versus Drew, but it looks like now with, Drew being out with injury, that's going to change. So maybe they may not even have Roman defend at the Rumble. I don't think people are going to complain if Roman doesn't defend at the Rumble, but still, it is one of your biggest shows of the year, right? Most of us look at the Royal Rumble as the second or third biggest show of the year, right behind WrestleMania and SummerSlam. So it would kind of make sense, to have, your number one champion on the show. But right now, you don't really have anybody to face Roman. Like I said, we talked about this earlier in the week. Maybe you could do Shinsuke Nakamura. Maybe you do Sheamus. Even though neither one of those people are really believable to beat Roman, you really don't have anybody else on the SmackDown side of things. So maybe that's what they do. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I am hearing the possibility of Roman costing Brock the WWE Championship at Royal Rumble, and lastly, once again becoming WWE champion, and then Brock going back to SmackDown, the feud with Roman going into WrestleMania. So instead of the rematch taking place at day one, like it was supposed to, they just moved the rematch over to WrestleMania, which I don't think anybody's going to complain about, really. And especially since you really don't have anybody else on Roman's level to face him. If Drew's out, right, for the foreseeable future, then you got to find somebody else. Brock, I guess, right? There are rumors saying maybe you have Big E win the Royal Rumble and he challenges Roman Reigns, which I'm not against, but right now, your main event scene is kind of a clusterfuck just because of all the injuries, and now we just have no idea what's going to happen, so we'll just have to wait and see on McIntyre and Roman. But I want to give you guys that quick update. Like I said, the other update on Sasha Banks, Sasha did tweet out, of course, that she was okay after the live event match, but we all know Sasha could be cryptic on social media. She can also be private, but it was reported by PW Insider that Sasha's injury was just a knee sprain. It wasn't anything too serious, right? And we know that knee sprains, a lot of us know what a knee sprain is like. If you ever played sports, you probably have sprained your knee, tweaked your knee at some point. Right. You know, a knee sprain could usually go anywhere from a couple days to a couple weeks to maybe a month. You know, it's not a major injury. It just really depends on rest and, you know, how long it takes everybody to recover from it. Right. So Sasha should be fine. I think she'll be fine for the Royal Rumble. I haven't heard anything about her not being able to compete at live events, but we'll just have to see. SmackDown's in a couple days. I expect Sasha to be on the show at least. Maybe not wrestling, but at least I expect her to be on the show. You know, maybe give a promo or a backstage interview or something like that. Maybe declare for the Royal Rumble, and then that be that, right? But it's good to hear that Sasha's going to be okay. Very glad to hear that. So want to give those two updates on Drew McIntyre, the main event scene, right? You know, and I'll keep you guys updated on that. And then Sasha Banks. The last thing I want to talk about WWE wise, of course, right? Since this is an AEW review, is NXT. All right. And if you guys were following me on Twitter, like, first of all, if you guys aren't following me on Twitter, what are you doing? The link's in the description down below. But for those of you guys who do follow me on Twitter, right, this was a big news day for NXT. You know, last night at NXT New Year's Evil, the biggest thing coming from that show is Braun Breaker defeating Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT Championship. And, of course, the big theme here is with Vince McMahon and Nick Khan and Bruce Pritchard taking over, right, since Triple H has been out, you know, Vince McMahon has slowly been just tearing down everything that Triple H built with NXT. The NXT that was so great for 3-4 years is no longer that. This is the Vince McMahon NXT, right? And we've been kind of waiting for the day when Tommaso Ciampa would lose the NXT title to officially say, hey, this is the end of the Triple H era, right? They've merged the North American and the Cruiserweight titles, right? Now those are now one title. And now Tommaso Ciampa, one of the pillars of the old era of NXT, along with Johnny Gargano leaving, right? And all these other people. You know, Tommaso Ciampa is just one of the last dominoes to fall in the Triple H era of NXT. And if you guys didn't believe that, right, I haven't been the only podcaster talking about that for months. Today, a lot of old NXT writers, some of those writers that had been there with Triple H for years, were released today. Road Dogg, right, one of Triple H's boys, he was fired today. And probably the biggest one, I was surprised that, you know, guys like Samoa Joe are still under contract, but I don't expect them to be under contract for long. Remember, Vince McMahon took the title off Samoa Joe, you know, and Samoa wasn't even injured, right? I'm surprised Matt Bloom, you guys may know him as Lord Tensai, you know, he's a trainer down there in the Performance Center. I'm so surprised that he's still there. I would not be surprised if he was let go in the next couple of days. But, of course, the biggest one was the release of NXT General Manager William Regal. William Regal has been with NXT from the very beginning, right? He has been a backstage personality and, you know, an on-screen character. Yeah, and the biggest thing for me about William Regal, the guy believed so much in NXT and Triple H's vision, right? And the biggest thing is tying that to Sasha Banks, who we just talked about. You know, William Regal, he went up to bat for Sasha way before Sasha was ever known as the boss and the best female wrestler in the world, like I say here on every single podcast. You know, when Sasha was first coming from Chaotic Wrestling over to WWE to train in NXT, she wasn't yet the person you see today, right? She was still known as Mercedes KV, and she, you know, she was just trying to find out, you know, what kind of character she was going to be. But William Regal saw something in her in those trainings, and, you know, just seeing what she was doing backstage. She saw so much potential in her, and William Regal saw that in so many others. You know, William Regal went to bat for for Mercedes. And he's a huge reason why Sasha Banks was born, right? He was a big believer in, Sasha versus Bayley at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2015 and all these other special moments along the way. A lot of people know William Regal, of course, for his famous War Games, quotes, right? Every year when he would announce the War Games match, War Games, right? But he was way more than that. He was way more than a TV character and an on-screen GM. He was one of the heart and souls of NXT. A lot of people look at Johnny Gargano from a talent perspective, right? From a talent perspective and from like the wrestlers themselves, saying like Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, right? Those guys who were in NXT forever. If you want to call them the heart and soul from a talent perspective, of course, hell yeah, you would call them the heart and soul of NXT. But if you're looking at the backstage people, the people behind the scenes that make NXT what it was for all these years, Triple H and William Regal, those two were the heart and soul of, the black and gold brand at its peak. And, without William Regal, characters like Sasha Banks and Samoa Joe and Finn Balor, and so many other people, right? They would have never have became as great as they did in WWE. Sasha tweeted out earlier how much she thanks William Regal for what he did for her career. William Regal did that for so many others. And it is sad because really, it's just sad because it's just pure arrogance and selfishness and ego from Vince McMahon and his team, really. You really want to strip down everything that Triple H has done. When NXT eventually, when the ratings drop and people just don't care about NXT, right? We've been talking about it for a year now. Now it's just blatant obvious. Vince wants to get rid of everything that Triple H did to build NXT up because Vince is so egotistical. He's so ignorant and arrogant that he believes that his vision for NXT is better than what Triple H's was. And plus, Triple H has been recovering for the last half year from his cardiac procedure that he's not going to do anything about it, right? Triple H can't do anything about it. Vince McMahon is still top dog, but hey, when NXT 2.0 eventually fails, right? Vince isn't going to be able to blame it on Triple H, right? This is all Vince. Vince has come in, he stripped, the NXT name, right? There was a moment on NXT New Year's Eve last night where one of the new wrestlers came out and legitimately destroyed the old NXT logo to represent, from a creative perspective, you're saying, this is the new era, right? The new era of NXT. No, it was more symbolic of this Vince saying, fuck what Triple H did. I'm in control now. The new NXT logo, right? All the colors, the new arena, all the new wrestlers. And of course, one of the last dominoes to fall, William Regal being fired. One of the hearts and souls, one of the pillars of the old NXT. And Tommaso Ciampa no longer being NXT champion. We know that Vince wants to have, fresh faces and all this. But does anybody truly trust Vince McMahon to really make NXT what it was in the past under Triple H? No, because just look at the main roster. Look at all of the young talent you have released. Look at all the young talent that you have released, in this last year alone in 2021. So many, you had the future of your company and you got rid of it. And now AEW is going to take all those names up. Watch. Karrion Kross and Keith Lee. I'm waiting for them to appear in AEW. Right? It's been, 2 months now since they've been released? We'll see what happens in 30 days. Same thing with Ember Moon. Same thing with Tegan Nox. Same thing with Toni Storm. I'm a broken record when it comes to this, but it's true. It has to be reminded. It has to be said. Vince McMahon is so arrogant now that he believes he can truly do better than Triple H. But just look at how much of a failure the main roster has been for the last 10 years. And the thing about it is that the only reason why WWE is still on top of the mountain is because of those TV deals. Let's be serious here. It's sad, and there's nobody in that company that will step up to Vince. Nobody will. Nobody has the balls to do it. I don't know what happens to Triple H because he will be probably healed eventually. I have no idea what Triple H does, next. I can't see Triple H leaving WWE because he's been with the company for what, over 30 years? Triple H, no, well, not 30. Well, I don't know when Triple H joined WWE officially, right? But, well over 25 years, at least, 26, 27 years at minimum. Right? For close to 3 decades, Triple H has, give his heart and soul to everything WWE. I can't just see him leaving, but still, you got to feel for the man. Just imagine, man, having to go through what he had to go through last year with his health, and now just seeing everything he built in NXT just destroyed, taken away from him, and there's nothing he can do because Vince McMahon is that arrogant. The only thing I would say now is NXT's failures that will come in the future, they're all on Vince. They're not on Triple H anymore. They're all on Vince. And it's sad because I don't know how you could release somebody like William Regal. I don't know what William Regal does now. He's, at his age, he's no longer a wrestler, right? I don't know what William Regal would do now. But it's just sad because William Regal should have got fired today. It's just really is sad that this is what Vince thinks. It really is, and there's nobody that has the balls in that company to stand up to him. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the NXT thing. I told you guys I would talk about that very quickly. Yeah, but yeah, there were other NXT superstars that were released today as well. Timothy Thatcher, so a couple others, right? I'll keep you guys updated, of course, on if there's any more big names. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated if there's any more big names that get released in the coming days. But yeah, just wanted to talk about that real quick. But let's get into AEW Dynamite, right? On TBS. Like I said, this was a big show. It's their new home on TBS, and some big things happened on this show. Of course, the show started off with probably the biggest thing, and that was an AEW World Title match with Bryan Danielson versus Adam Hangman Paige. This is the big rematch from Winter is Coming, from their epic 60-man Iron Man match battle, right? The big thing coming into this was that if there was a 60-minute time limit, if they had reached that limit, then they would have judges to decide who would win the AEW World Title. Yeah, they had Mark Henry and Big Show out there and a couple others, but the thing about it is it never reached that limit. It never got to the 60-minute time limit at all. This match barely made the 30-minute time limit, but it was really, really good. The big thing with this match really is you knew that Hangman Page was going to retain. As much as I would not, you guys know how much I love Bryan Danielson. I would have not complained at all if Bryan Danielson had won this match. But you knew that, Hangman Adam Page was going to win, right? The big thing is coming out of this match, I would say is that if Adam Hangman Page was to lose the AEW World Title tomorrow, he would still be a main man. I don't think too many people would have complained because of how great this feud was. Seriously, right? As great as Hangman Page's journey to the AEW World Title was, right? As great as his journey to the title was, it was more that, what was Hangman Page going to be like now being the top guy in AEW? And this feud made him, really, seriously. You look at the promos that him and Bryan Danielson had. These two matches, and the thing is, these two matches that you have with Bryan Danielson told two completely different stories. right? The epic classic at Winter is Coming, the 60-man battle, you know? And then with this story being teased that they could go 60 minutes again, you know, quickly you watched how this match went. You knew they weren't going to go 60 minutes, especially with how much they had already on the card. You know, you knew they weren't going to go 60 minutes. That's why they did the blood spot, right? The blood spot, because when you're bleeding, it makes you tired. Of course, when you're losing blood, you know, you're losing, you get tired more quickly. This was more of just a violent clash, even though there weren't, you know, weapons and everything like that. It was more of a violent clash instead of the first match, which was like a wrestling classic. You know what I mean? So these two matches told two great stories, and it made Adam Hangman Page look so much greater coming out of it. Bryan Danielson, he's been one of the best wrestlers in the world for years now. Right? He's right up there. When you're talking about the best wrestlers in the world, if you don't have him up there in that conversation, you're delusional. You're delusional. He's that damn good, you know? And he did a great job of continuing to showcase that in this feud, right? How he made the transition from babyface to heel so seamlessly. It was so fluent how he was able to make that transition with his character. It was just fantastic, right? And even though he didn't win the title here, it doesn't hurt him at all. There's so many other stories and opponents that Bryan Danielson is going to be able to tell throughout AEW. You know, and I do expect eventually one day that Bryan Danielson will become AEW World Champion. I know right now the main event scene, right? You have when you have Adam Cole and you have CM Punk and you have MJF, right? Those are three guys I look that will become AEW World Champions eventually. I don't know when. Right, I can't predict that, but you know, those are three names I see that will eventually win that title. Bryan Danielson, I think he'll have his moment there one day, right? It's just not now, but still, you know, I'm not complaining at all. But still, getting to the match itself. So yeah, getting into the match itself. This was just it was just a furious battle, right? So Danielson was able to stall. So Paige was going after Danielson at the beginning here, but Danielson was able to stall enough to sucker Paige into a tope suicida, right? Paige countered and sent Danielson then sent Paige into the guardrail, injuring his arm, which he would target throughout the match. But then Paige came back with a springboard clothesline and then added another one off the top rope for 2, right? Danielson then sent him face first into the ring steps, and that opened up his forehead. So, you know, when I first saw this, I was like, are they going to do the double blood spot here? And they did very, very quickly. And Bryan, you know, it's been a long time since I've seen Bryan Danielson that bloody. I don't remember him having moments like that in WWE often. I think maybe the last time he had that was maybe his feud with Cade, you know, and that was back when maybe 2014. Seriously, Bryan, you know, when he was Daniel Bryan in WWE, when he was Daniel Bryan in WWE, he didn't really have many moments like that when he got really, really bloody, right? You know, so it was weird seeing Bryan Danielson that bloody, but I wasn't complaining at all, you know. And you could tell that, you know, they wanted both men to be bloody with the story of this match, and they both were gassing blood by the end of it. So Paige brought back with a German suplex, but Danielson out wrestled him and sent him face first into the ring post. Hangman returned the favor, right? And then Paige marked his own chest with the blood of his opponent like a badge of honor, right? So then a top rope moonsault power slam, which looked beautiful. Gave him a close 2 count. Then he hit the dead eye. He set up for the buckshot lariat, but you know, Danielson fell before he could connect with the move. Great storytelling, like, you know, the blood pouring everywhere, causing Danielson to fall. Danielson then applied the bell lock, which looked brutal. And I thought for a second that maybe Paige was going to tap with all the blood he had everywhere. But then Hangman got back up, hit Danielson with a bunch of headbutts and strikes, right? But then Daniel Bryan hit the gotcha style power driver. Then Paige answered by countering a running knee with a power bomb. But then Danielson was able to catch him with the triangle choke. Then Paige was finally able to hit Danielson away with the buckshot for the win. This was a fantastic match. Great story. Great way to start the feud, right? Already, this match is going to be up there at the end of the year when you look at AEW's best matches. This was a great way to, establish Hangman as the dominant champion, right? By beating one of the best in the world, right? The feud was fantastic. Loved it. And remember, AEW doesn't even do rematches that often. AEW is a company that loves to do one and dones and then move on, right? So for them to tell a great story over the course of multiple matches, that was fantastic. This was a great match. Both men look like stars coming out of it. I don't really know what both men do next, right? Because the way I'm looking at it, I feel like by the end of Hangman Page's reign, I feel like MJF will be the one to take that title from him. But I could be wrong. You never know what they have planned. If Kenny Omega was around, I would say that would be what's next for Bryan Danielson. But we know Omega's dealing with injuries at the moment. I don't know. The thing about it is, are you going to keep Bryan Danielson as a heel? You can easily turn, Bryan back to a babyface. Easily. It will not be hard at all. You could easily have him come out and say last week that he was so obsessed with winning the AEW World title and beating Hangman Adam Paige that it caused him to not act like himself. And then the fans would easily go right back to cheering him again. Maybe you have him go feud with Adam Cole. I don't know. There's lots of opponents you can have Bryan Danielson face. It's also important to point out that this was Bryan's first official AEW loss. He was undefeated before. He hadn't been pinned yet. He had those two ties with Omega and Paige, right? Those two draws, but this was his first official loss, So I don't really know what's next for both men, right? Maybe you do Malachi Black versus Adam Hangman Page. I wouldn't be against that. But we'll just have to see in the coming weeks what's next for both of these men. We'll see if Bryan stays heel or if he goes back to babyface. Either way, no one's really going to complain because he's awesome at doing both. But, great match, great story, and this was a great, great way to start off the show. Next up, we had MJF in action, or we thought we were going to see MJF in action. We thought MJF versus Shawn Dean. I thought this was going to be very, very quick, right? Because, MJF talked about last week how he was going to start to get some W's under his belt so that he could rise to the rankings. Because MJF said he wants to be both TNT and AEW World Champion. But instead, MJF, after he made his way to the ring for his match, CM Punk appeared out of nowhere, right? And MJF ran out of the ring the second he saw Punk. I know casuals, right? This is why casuals, you got to pay attention to the story being told. CM Punk last week said he was done with MJF, right? That he was going to turn his focus towards the AEW World Championship. But we all know that was not going to be the case. We knew that this was not over between Punk and MJF. There was no way they were going to, there was no way that they were not gonna do, they were gonna end this feud without doing a match. We all knew that, right? The big thing here is we know that they're delaying this feud because they want to do it on pay-per-view, right? Which is one of the only things you can complain about AEW, right? Or having one pay-per-view every 3 months, and you want to specifically have these two fights for the first time on pay-per-view, right? It kind of hurts the feud itself because you got to find ways to stretch the feud out without having those two have a match with one another. Because they've had, clearly Punk and MJF have had enough promos, right? And they've had enough interactions to have a match. But clearly AEW wants to save that for pay-per-view. I don't blame them, right? So Uh, so it may make some people like just scratch their head, like, wait a minute, Punk said last week he was done with MJF. Now you have him chasing after him again tonight, you know? So I feel important that we point that out, that clearly they're trying to get this match to happen on pay-per-view, and they're doing everything they can to delay it till then. So, so big thing is Punk blasted Dean with a boot to the midsection and hit him with the go to sleep, right? Not because he wanted to embarrass Dean, but because it was more to embarrass MJF. MJF, we know he rarely ever loses, right? But the big thing here is since he attacked Sean, basically it ended in a disqualification. Sean gets the win via disqualification, but the big thing is MJF gets the loss. That was the biggest thing. Punk wanted to humiliate MJF in the process, right? And basically Punk said he would do this every single week until he gets a one-on-one match with MJF and he shuts him up once and for all. So I wish I had the promo on here, but the thing about it is AEW, which is different from WWE, is AEW, they post their promos like the day after. They don't post their clips right after the show ends. So I can't play the promo for you guys because it's not on YouTube yet, which is whatever. Hopefully you guys watch the show, or you guys will just have to wait till it's on AEW's YouTube page to watch it if you didn't watch Dynamite Live. So, but MJF cut a promo where he embarrassed Punk, right? Because basically we know how much Punk idolized Roddy Piper, right? And MJF said that Punk wasn't talented enough to headline WrestleMania, and MJF said if he isn't treated better, he'll be main eventing WrestleMania 2 one day, right? Because we know MJF's a free agent in 2024. It is hilarious how MJF brings that up all the time, even though he's not a free agent for 2 more years. Who knows what happens in the next 2 years. But anyway, Punk gave an amazing comeback. Punk said, if you think the grass is so greener on the other side, be my best. Go ahead, leave. Main event night 4 of a buy one, get one free extravaganza, and then release faster than you last in the sack, right? So that was crazy. So I would say the only thing, even though it was a beast line from Punk, the only thing I would say is still, for WrestleMania, right? And I know this, for WrestleMania, when you buy your ticket, technically, it's not, you're not paying you for buy one get one free. If you buy a ticket for 2 nights for WrestleMania, yes, I think you get the same seat, but it actually costs more. You're not getting a free ticket for the next night. There's a lot of people that would just buy a ticket for WrestleMania for night 1 and then have a different seat for night 2. For some people, it actually saves them money. So, Punk wasn't fully correct on his line, but I understood of what he was trying to say. It was a great line from Punk. I just wanted to make sure it was, you guys got the actual information from what he said. But then Punk said, just, when are you going to have your match with me? But of course, MJF weaseled his way out of it. He said last night, he said that next week it would be Punk, not against MJF, but it would be against Wardlow, right? It would be against Wardlow, which should be a damn good match. Wardlow, of course, we know that Wardlow has been destroying people on AEW television with his power bombs, of course. And also remember, they had that thing last week where if Wardlow wins a chance at the AEW TNT title, or he ever won the title, right, he would have to vacate the title right away to MJF. And which, of course, we know that they're slowly, kind of teasing the breakup between Wardlow and MJF. Clearly, Wardlow's going to be turning babyface here eventually. We're just waiting to when that's going to happen. But next week, of course, you're going to get Punk versus Wardlow on AEW Dynamite, which should be beast. We don't get Punk wrestling on Dynamite often. Remember, most of Punk's matches are on pay-per-view or Rampage. So it is going to feel good to see that match next week. Very excited for that, right? Definitely, I think something might happen where MJF tries to interfere, right, to embarrass Punk, and then it distracts Wardlow, and then it causes Punk to actually beat Wardlow. I think that's what's gonna happen, right? That will continue the feud with MJF and Punk, and that's gonna, it maybe accelerate the breakup between MJF and Wardlow just a little bit quicker. So the feud's still going on between Punk and MJF. It's still going on. It's still going well. It is going at a snail's pace, right? Because they're trying to delay it until pay-per-view. But next week, Punk and Wardlow, that should be good. And I'm excited to see what goes down with those three men next week. So, like I said, Wardlow destroyed another opponent, right? He was going up against Antonio Zambrano. Basically, Spears attacked Zambrano before the bell and hit him with a Death Valley driver. And then Wardlow hit Zambrano with 5 power bombs for the victory, which, of course, everyone loves when he just hits the power bomb over and over again. Another thing, Chris Jericho is back. Remember, he did return on Dynamite last week, and he came back tonight for the first show on TBS. Right, this was also the first time he had been on TBS since April of 1999. I think the specific date was April 7th, I think. And he talked about a match he had with Booker T, and it was funny because the crowd booed the hell out of Booker T. But while Jericho was reminiscing on that match, he got interrupted by 2.0, right? Nothing too much here, wasn't anything too crazy. But then 2.0 and Daniel Garcia attacked Jericho, and then Eddie Kingston and Ortiz made the save. So it has been a while since we've seen Inner Circle fully together. If you guys haven't noticed that, of course, remember Jericho's been off TV for the last couple months, right? But I would like to see the Inner Circle back together. I do miss them. We know that Sammy Guevara has been doing with the TNT title, right, which he lost to Cody Rhodes. And Santana Ortiz have kind of been doing their old thing with Eddie Kingston for now. But I do want to see the Inner Circle gets back together. I hope that happens sooner rather than later. I do know that on Rampage, I don't know if it's Jericho, but I know Kingston. I think it's Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz against 2.0 and Garcia in a 6-man tag match. So that should be good for Rampage. That should be a pretty good match, and we'll just have to go from there. So these two segments with Wardlow and Jericho weren't anything special, right? They weren't on the level, of course, of the opening of the show, right? The first 45 minutes of the show was amazing with MJF and Punk and Danielson versus Paige, right? This was not bad at all, Still, it felt a little more like filler. I'm not trying to say that Jericho's filler, but it was kind of just a little bit of a breather, right? A simple segment to get us to the 9 o'clock hour. It did its job. And it was great, of course, to see Jericho's theme song getting sung again by the crowd. Next up, at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, we had Ruby Soho versus Jade Cargill, the finals for the TBS Championship tournament, right? And if we're being honest with ourselves here, a lot of people didn't know how this was going to go. Ruby Soho, remember, she went after Britt Baker for the AEW World Women's title when she first came to AEW, and she lost. But a lot of people thought, all right, yeah, no one's beating Britt Baker at the moment. So people thought, okay, we're just going to wait for that match. Or we'll reward Ruby Soho by having her become the first TBS champion, right? And for other people, Jade's been undefeated since she's been in AEW. She is impressive, of course, but she is still very green in the ring. She's nowhere near where her potential should have her be. She's getting better each and every single week, but she still is very green. She can still be a little bit messy here in spots. So some people thought she wasn't ready for that title. Plus, if you looked at what happened with Tony Khan and Big Slow last week on Twitter, a lot of people were looking to the outcome of this match, right? And people thought it would be a little more obvious that Jade would win just based off that interaction with Tony Khan alone, right? I didn't look at that match, I didn't look at what Tony Khan said as being a determining factor of what the outcome of this match would be. And plus, I don't really care about Tony Khan. I don't like Tony Khan. I didn't like his comments. Seriously, he does come off as a spoiled rich boy, and kind of entitled, even though I know he has diversity in his blood, but still, I didn't like his comments. I don't think it was very professional to come out and say that Big Swole is not a good wrestler and stuff like that. I would have probably said something completely different. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And like I said, I'm not going to waste time talking about it because, I don't care about Tony Khan, right? I'm just going to focus on what I'm seeing when I watch Dynamite every week. And the match itself, look, I'll be honest with you, the match was It was It wasn't really that good, especially with a match that was hyped, or that a whole tournament that was built up the lead to this final match. This match was very And I wouldn't say that this was because Ruby Soho's fault. We know how good Ruby Soho is. It's just more that Jade is still very green in the ring. This match was very sloppy in different spots. And getting into the match itself, like I said, it was right? Of course, remember Ruby was dealing with a shoulder injury entering the finals of of this tournament, right? And Jade went right after that. When Mercedes Martinez tried to interfere, Thunder Rosa fought her to the back. I know some people, I think I said it on last week's review, I kind of would have saved Mercedes making her debut till next week. Technically this week, right? I said last week they should have her debut next week, which would have been on tonight's show. I think like having her make her debut here would have probably made it easier to kind of digest Jade winning, because people have been very 50-50 on Jade since he came back. He also had smart Mark Sterling. He tried to interfere, but then he got ejected from the ringside area, keeping it 1-on-1, right? But the thing about it is, Jade was still able to get the job without Mercedes and without Mark Sterling. Ruby hit her with a no future. Jade was able to kick out, and she put Ruby Soho away with an avalanche Jaded to get the world title victory. It was cool seeing her celebrate with her daughter at ringside. She didn't celebrate to get a long championship victory just because they had other things to get onto the show. But like I said, I'm happy for Jade. Definitely, I do think she's going to get better and better. Remember, this tournament was kind of built for her, right? And she is still undefeated. I think she's 24-0 now in AEW. She's going to get better the longer she's in the ring. The more she works with people like Ruby Soho, and of course, the Britt Bakers and, the Thunder Rosas of the world, she's going to get better. Now you got to start thinking about, I know she just won the title and I expect her to hold that title for a while. Who are you going to build up to take that title from her? One name that someone told me when I was watching this on Discord earlier was Ember Moon, and I would absolutely love that. I expect, I said, I've been saying this now for months since she got released. I expect Ember Moon and Tegan Nox to be in that AEW Women's Division. I expect Toni Storm to go to AEW. And, adding those three names alone are going to elevate that AEW Women's Division to another level, and I'm excited to see it. I'm very excited to see it. I would love to see Ember Moon come in and be built up to take that title from Jade. I expect Jade to hold that title. We know one thing about AEW, they love doing long title reigns, right? And especially with Jade's undefeated record, you're gonna build somebody up to you're gonna definitely build somebody up to give her that first loss, and it's gonna be a big moment. Jade will get better. The more she performs with top talent, the better she will, and she will be a big player for AEW for years to come. Trust me. You just got to be patient with her, right? I know some people wanted Ruby to win. I would have had no problem if Ruby won this match. I love Ruby. Yeah, I love Jade. You know, they're both great. You know, and Ruby will get her time. She will get her moment at some point to hold one of those two titles. I don't know when it'll be, but it will come eventually. You know, but right now, clearly they're pushing Jade to the moon. And like I said, she's going to be a star in AEW for years to come. You just got to be patient with her. So these things just take time. And eventually, once Jade fully maximizes that potential she has, people are going to look back and they're going to be like, it was worth it. It was worth all the buildup that they and all the months they spent with Jade running through opponent after opponent after opponent. Very happy for Jade. It was cool seeing her celebrate with her daughter, and I'm excited to see what they do with her title reign. You know, like I said, they do need to differentiate, you know, even though I look at the TBS championship as the mid-card women's title, they have to do a good job of splitting the divisions up. Because like I said, you just had Ruby challenge for the AEW women's championship. She lost, and then she just lost in the finals of the TBS championship, right? So, you know, like I think they need to do a good job going forward of splitting up and, you know, making it clear, right? All right, Britt is the main champion, and, you know, Jade's our mid-card champion. You know, I don't want to see top talent going after both titles. I don't like that. Unless they're trying to tell a big story here, I want you to keep those two titles separate, have separate divisions, have separate rankings. You know, I don't want to see one person going after both titles. Don't want that at all. All right. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It will be interesting to see who will be built up as Jay's first challenger for that title. But speaking of Britt Baker, after Ruby's loss, Ruby was interviewed backstage, and Britt Baker, of course, came in to clown on Ruby for losing title matches for both titles, right? Eventually, Ruby then got on Britt and said that, you know, Britt can't win a match without her two goons alongside her, right? So why don't she just focus on defending her title coming up at Battle of the Belts or Clash of the Belts or whatever they're calling it. And then Britt attacked Ruby, and then Ruby got back up, and that was that, right? And I believe I forget the name of Britt's challenger, but I know that on Rampage, I think they're doing Britt and one of her goons against Ruby and Britt's next challenger. Like I said, you know, even though I've been watching AEW weekly now, I'm still getting used to all the names. Like in WWE, when you watch WWE for as long as I have, you know every single superstar inside and out. You know, but still, I'm still learning some names of AEW superstars, and you know, so just be a little more patient with me on that. But yeah, that's that segment set up for Rampage, so we'll see what happens with that. Next up, there was Adam Cole. Adam Cole gave a quick interview backstage with Bobby Fitz and Kyle O'Reilly. I'm almost tempted to call them Undisputed Era, even though they're not officially named that in AEW. Right? But Cole gave a quick promo talking about how, you know, they were going to take over AEW and, you know, prove that there's no dominant force. And Adam Cole just promoted a match he'll be having on Rampage with I forget the guy's name. He's one of the newer talent there, but yeah, that was that. But then that would lead us into Malachi Black versus Brian Pillman Jr. If you guys remember last week, Brian Pillman Jr. gave a probably his best promo in AEW to date. He had really cool intensity, but if we're being honest, we all knew that Aleister Black was going to win this match, no matter what. You know, they did a good job of making, I guess Pillman look at least like he was better prepared. I wasn't going to say like he had a chance, but, you know, they did do a decent job of having Pillman look prepared, you know, to at least fight back a little bit against Malachi Black. But the thing about it is Pillman's kind of a jobber. That's the way I kind of view him, you know, or if anything, he's the step he's like the bridge right between Jobber and Mid Carter, so you knew that he wasn't winning. So basically, they had Julia Hart at ringside. She had an eye patch on because remember, Alistair sprayed black mist in her eye a couple weeks ago, right? So I liked how they had that. They had Julia at ringside to sell that injury. But basically, Black dominated most of the match. Pillman went for a springboard miss, or he went for a springboard and missed, right? And Black hit him with the black mask. So that was it. After the match, it looked like he was going to go after Julia again, but then the Lucha Bros hit the ring because you looked at the clock. There was only about 20 minutes left, and they had to get to the main event. And then Black did that thing when the lights go out, and then all of a sudden you have the Lucha Bros in the ring checking on Pillman and Hart, and then Black was backing up. What was kind of wacky is we come back from commercial break, and the Lucha Bros, who had just been in the ring, right, confronting Malachi Black, they went backstage and they did their entrance again. I found that a little bit wacky, but it didn't take away from the match, but I did notice that. That's something that casuals, of course, won't notice. But anyway, yes, the main event, the Lucha Bros versus Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. This was really great, right? I love this match. Like I said, the big thing people are going to remember, of course, is Rey Fenix. Prayers for him, man. Him shattering his arm. There's the clips all over Twitter, and it is brutal. That thing snapped all the way back, and I just hope he's okay. Definitely wishing him a speedy recovery. So these two teams went at it, very, very, very aggressive, right? So Luchasaurus here, when we came back from commercial, I'll skip ahead a little bit. Luchasaurus sparked a comeback, which the fans got behind. And then all of a sudden the arena, darkened, and you thought Malachi Black was gonna, come out and kind of, get some, I'm not gonna say payback, but at least, maybe interfere in the match or distract the Lucha Bros. Because remember, the Lucha Brothers came out and stopped Malachi Black from inflicting more damage on Julia Hart earlier. But Black didn't come out. The champs went back on the offensive, and they delivered the Fear Factor combo for a dramatic 2 count. Like Jungle Boy kicked out right in the nick of time. So then we saw Alex. He set up a table. He set up a table at ringside, but then Christian Cage chased him to the back. Luchasaurus then put Phoenix through the table with the chokeslam. Of course, that being the spot where Phoenix broke his arm, right? And I kind of feel like they had made an audible here when they saw that Phoenix was not going to be able to go. They made audible because you see right away that Phoenix was pointing at his arm and calling for the officials. And you see the camera points away, right? Because clearly they showed like a bunch of replays, and it looked like not many people had noticed yet. I know that my first time watching, I didn't notice that. It wasn't until afterwards I noticed how bad he had shattered his arm. And then Penna and Jungle Boy were in the ring, and Jungle Boy rode Penna up to get the titles. And the thing about it is, if you look at Jungle Boy's reaction, he looked kind of shocked, and the thing about it is, I thought originally when they did the roll up, this was just going to be to set up a rematch, but instead it wasn't to set up a rematch, or maybe it does lead to a rematch, but I personally think that they made an adjustment on the fly. When they saw that Phoenix had broken his arm, they were just like, all right, let's just give the titles to Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, right? And still, I'll also say that, the shock on Jungle Boy's face, that's what did it for me. But the thing about it is, I'm not complaining about Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus being tag champions. Yes, I want Rey Fenix to get better, but Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, they're one of the most beloved tag teams in AEW. I don't think anybody's going to complain with them being AEW tag champs. Nobody. You know, you could say this is well deserved. Remember when Jungle Boy went up against Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship, right? There was many of us that wanted Jungle Boy to win that match, even though we knew he wasn't going to win that match. Jungle Boy is, you know, one of the, you know, when I look at AEW's future, I look at Jungle Boy as being one of those pillars. You know, I feel like Jungle Boy is going to be a star in AEW for years and years and years to come. You know, so I'm happy that he got this moment. You know, afterwards, you know, Christian Cage kept hugging Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, you know, congratulating them on the win, right? And like I said, I have no problem with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus being AEW World Champions. Or being, you know, tag champions, right? I want Rey Fenix to get better. I was surprised that the Lucha Bros lost, but like I said, it was probably an adjustment on the fly. And definitely when the Lucha Bros come back after Phoenix recovers, of course, they're definitely going to be right back in the hunt to get those tag championships back. Afterwards, the entire tag team division came out. You know, FTR, Private Party, right? Santana Ortiz, all the tag teams came out, right? You know, teasing, you know, all the challengers that Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy would have to be going up against, as now they'll have to defend those tag championships in the weeks and months going forward. And then one thing that was weird is you had Chris Jericho. They pointed the camera to Chris Jericho, who was watching in the nosebleeds, right, the skyboxes. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Jericho's watching the match from the nosebleeds. But then you had Aleister Black and a couple others there as well. I was like, why are they pointing to them watching in the skyboxes? Like, that's kind of weird. You know, yes, it's cool seeing the AEW talent there to watch the main event, but it was just weird that they just kept pointing to those skyboxes to show the superstars there. That was a little bit weird, but it didn't take away too much from the moment. But still, yeah, there you have it. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, now the new AEW World Tag Team Champions. Like I said, I want Rey Fenix to get better, right? And I know he will. The Lucha Bros will be back, but very, very happy for Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Definitely cannot wait to see them defend those tag championships going forward, right? And you know, big title change now. Big title change for AEW. We'll see what happens going forward. Now, you know, a big title change to start this new era for AEW on TBS, and a big title change to start the year. So definitely, I'm excited to see what they do with with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus going forward. But all in all, this was a decent show. Definitely, the show was amazing. The first 45 minutes, mainly the first hour of this show, was fantastic. You know, carried by Bryan Danielson and Adam Hangman Paige, right? Them killing it for the AEW World Championship. Punk and MJF having another great segment. That was great. The middle part was, you know, it did cool down. It wasn't necessarily bad. It just cooled off a little bit. And depending on, you know, how much you like that Jade and Ruby Soho match, that will probably have a big thing to do with your opinion of this show, right? Plus, Aleister Black and Brian Pillman Jr. wasn't too special, but like I said, I really did enjoy the first hour of this show, and this was not a bad show. You know, it wasn't anything too wild, but it was still it was an okay show, an okay way to start off the TBS era for AEW. But other than that, guys, that's about all I got for you guys today. Thank you for joining me here on the Legit Shoot podcast. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like on the video. Make sure to let me know what you guys thought of Dynamite in the comment section down below. If you guys haven't already, check out all my other podcast content. We have the Monday Night Raw review. We go over everything that happened with Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar officially being announced for the Royal Rumble, so go check that out. If you guys missed my WWE Day 1 review, check that out as well. I have a kind of an epic rant on that show, so go check out the WWE Day 1 review if you guys haven't already. I'm hoping I should be back with SmackDown this weekend. Of course, SmackDown, Brock Lesnar, the new WWE champion, he will be appearing on the show to confront Roman Reigns. Hopefully we get some answers on who will challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship going to the Royal Rumble. Hopefully Sasha Banks will be on the show, right? As we start the build, we only have 3 weeks to go. We only have 3 weeks to the Royal Rumble, guys. So definitely they have to get started with the Royal Rumble build now. So this SmackDown is definitely going to be important. So and hopefully I'll see you guys for the SmackDown review later this week. Like I said, guys, if you guys enjoyed the review, thank you guys. I'm trying to be more consistent with the AEW reviews this year, right? 2 weeks. I think that's our record. 2 weeks in a row you got in AEW Dynamite reviews. Hopefully we can keep it up. I plan to be back here next week with another AEW Dynamite review. So, yeah. Hopefully I'll be back here next week. That should be exciting. Remember, we're getting Wardlow and CM Punk. I'm very excited to see how that match goes next week. But like I said, guys, thank you guys for the love and support. If you guys are new to the channel, leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you guys are new. Hit the bell next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Follow me down on social media. The links are in the description down below. Other than that, guys, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe and healthy, y'all. Peace.